welcome to Rules Confirmation and Public Election. It is Tuesday, May 16th. Took me a second to figure out what date that was, I'm sorry. The chair detects a quorum. We're going to go over our consent agenda first, and if anybody has any changes to that, let me know. So on consent, we have, or if anything needs to be added.
You can take mine off.
Okay, I didn't have it on, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add it. We're
yeah.
good, okay then. All right, item number 2, RS 2023-2188. It's an honoring, that's on consent. Item 3, RS 2023-2189, Syracuse on consent, Sierra Club. RS 2023-2190, Hurt, it's designating, recognizing a month, it's on consent. Bills on second reading, BL 2023-1862 by myself. It's the one where we adopt all the pages of all the things that we have adopted and passed laws on. That is on consent. That takes us to the end of consent. Anything that needs to come off, anything that needs to be added? All right, seeing none, we will move forward with that. So RS 2023-2188 honors Patricia Elkins of the Free Store. Item number 3, RS 2023-2189 honors the Board of Directors of the Sierra Club on their meeting in Nashville, Tennessee on May 19th and 20th of this year on consent to be approved. Item number 4, RS 2023-2190 recognizes the month of May as Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in Nashville and Davidson County on consent to be approved. Bills on second reading, BL 2023-1862 by myself. It's the one that readopts the code of the Metropolitan government prepared by the Municipal Code Corporation, including supplemental and replacement pages thereof and containing certain ordinances of a general and permanent nature enacted on or before December 22nd of 2022. And that would be my brother's birthday, but we don't need it. We do not need an ordinance recognizing that, but that's on consent. That is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Fabulous. That gets us moving to RS 2023-2187. Council Lady Evans urges the Mayor's Office, the Metro Health Department, and the Metro Homeless Impact Division, and urges Metro Social Services to evaluate housing pods purchased with COVID-19 epidemiology and laboratory capacity grant funds and creates an action plan for their use. We have a motion and a second, and so Council Lady Evans, what would you like to share?
I would like to move to defer one meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Proper motion, properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? All right, taking us to late filed. Council Lady Allen, there we are. This is emergency rules and resolution content. So it is affirming the protection of Fort Negley. Council Lady Allen, that is just so descriptive that I'm still going to give you the opportunity if you'd like to add to the affirming of protection.
Thank you. This is just officially saying that we worked really hard on a master plan, and we think that anything that happens in the future should be done according to that. And the purpose of trying to get this passed today is that there is an event tomorrow that we wanted to present this at.
And you were not aware of this event tomorrow?
I was not aware of this event tomorrow until last week at the end of the week.
Okay. And that would have been past the filing deadline by the time that you were told about the event. All right, that checks the boxes for me for emergency filing. I'm good with the content. Anyone else have questions or issues?
No.
All right, we will not raise our hands on the floor and object to you, Council Lady Allen. You are good to go. Do you have anything else on my agenda? No, you're welcome to stay or you're welcome to go. All right. Oh, yes, sorry. That was on the emergency nature, on the resolution content. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Now you're free to leave.
Now free to leave.
All right, late filed ordinance, Roten Withers. This is the annual dance that we do with adopting the 2023, 2024 through 2028, 2029 capital improvements budget for the Metropolitan government as the official capital improvements plan for the fiscal year of 2023 to 2024. Councilman Withers, this is the annual suspend the rules because of the way our filing deadlines work. And so does anybody have an issue with the way we set up our rules and that we set up our rules where we have to suspend them for the CIB?
Yes.
Our,
Kind of issues.
Face, I'm sorry, that was a knee-jerk face, not on purpose. All right, hearing any other things? Okay, well, then we are good to go. So, taking us to late filed ordinance, Freddie O'Connell. All right, roll to the heel. Elections and confirmations, civil service appointment, reappointment of Mr. William Farmer for a term expiring on March 31st, 2028. So, Bill, if you wouldn't mind just roll your seat up to the hot seat up here. And you have done this,
Raise my right hand.
yeah, and raise your right hand. You have been reappointed you've served on this commission for,
Since 1999.
okay, I was gonna say for 75 years, but didn't wanna age you. You started when you were a child, right?
Yeah, I was in grade school.
I thought so. So you know our civil service rules pretty well in and out. But I have to ask these questions that I know to be true. You're a registered voter here in Davidson County.
Yes.
You live in Davidson County, and you're not on any other boards or commissions in Metro.
No.
All right, so with that, Council Lady Vercher, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. With everything going on as it relates to like cultural competence, bias, and disciplinary actions within departments, what is the commission doing to ensure that when they're speaking to various matters, that they're remaining objective? And how much does feedback from respective department heads weigh in decision making, if you can answer that?
Okay.
If it's appropriate for you to answer, I should say.
Well, I think there's no question that we're very keenly aware of discrimination and challenge it any time we see it. We don't see it that often. Usually, if it comes to us through a hearing on some disciplinary matter, which we have jurisdiction over, and we'll deal with it then. But I think we do very well in that regard.
Any follow-up? Rutherford?
I'm good.
Tanya? Dave? Okay, I would like to just maybe ask, because we do have a union representative here.
Sure.
I figured you wouldn't mind. I thought you'd be okay with it. You've done a great job on the board. But former Representative Gary Moore, I know you represent IFF Local 140, our firefighters locally. I haven't heard from any of the unions, which is probably in your favor, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to voice any concerns that have been going on with the board that we may need to be discussing with Mr. Farmer here.
First of all, I'm not an elected official of the firefighters union anymore, but I have served. And I would say I've dealt with Mr. Farmer in years past many times. He's very fair. He runs a tight ship, I might say, as well. So he's a good chairman, and I would highly recommend it. He would be reappointed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
I know that
We
Director.
are differences sometimes.
Yeah.
trust me.
Yeah, and I can tell Director Hall was a little nervous when I opened that floor up. So.
I actually wasn't, especially when I'm like, firefighters? No, come on, front and center.
Yeah.
Actually, no, not a lot of disciplinary actions that are appealed through the fire department.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
note.
Yeah.
And just to tag on to Council Lady Vercher's question, I do think, through the Uniform Administrative Procedures Act, there's a lot of check and balance with review of any disciplinary matters that get appealed. So it's going through an entire hearing, state administrative law judge. So, and more often than not, I think the commission is always making fair and balanced, and when appropriate, usually, leaning towards either the administrative law judge or the employee. So I agree with Mr. Moore. He's been excellent on the commission. We highly, highly endorse him being reappointed.
And I will too. I know that I watched those meetings, and you have been extremely fair, and I appreciate that. So with that, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? All right, we'll see you in you know the routine. We'll see you out there. Make sure you get your parking pass.
It's right here.
Last time, though. Not, 5 more years is it. I'm done.
Are you sure? Are we getting there? Mr. Farmer, if you notice,
Not approved.
I did not
I
give
do not
you an
approve that.
opportunity to speak for that very reason.
I would say you can
All right, so we've got MDHA appointment of Mr. Johnny Moore for a term expiring on November 5th, 2023. Mr. Moore, please come on down to the hot chair. And let's go through our quick questions, rapid fire. Are you a registered voter here in Davidson County? No? You're not a registered voter?
You don't have to.
Oh, okay. You live here, though?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you don't serve on any other boards or commissions?
No.
Okay, great.
Not government, I'm on like some other volunteer boards.
Making
like
you
the
a
chamber.
well-rounded candidate. Right, got you. Okay, let's open it up to why you would like to be appointed.
I think this is a great opportunity to add value to the city. With my financial background, I think I could be very additive to the work that MDH is doing here. And we know affordable housing in Nashville is a big issue, and I think I could be part of the solution.
Rutherford,
I'm good, thanks.
Tanya,
No questions.
Dave,
Would you mind talking a little bit about your experience in the affordable housing space, please?
Well, in banking, I've done a lot of things like affordable housing. We've done deals like, currently I'm working on a CITC deal where we're doing low income tax credits and deals like that. So I've been in the process of underwriting deals, and our team does that a lot, and the real estate team reports to me. So a lot of the deals come through me, so I see a lot of activity from all types of development, not just affordable housing, but all types of developments from like arenas to everything. So in 31 years of banking, I've seen it all.
Thank you.
so I've, in the field that I work in, this is not an issue that I work on, but I have become more aware of that a barrier to affordable housing and keeping families together is keeping their pets and families together. Do you have any experience or any opinions on affordable housing and MDHA allowing any type of animal to stay with their tenants?
At this point, I don't have any issue there. I would need to learn a little bit about the policies. Seeing I've never been to a board meeting, don't know the positions, I would hate to just say I would want to change something without knowing positions.
I will have a colleague send you something because not my area, but I know that as Nashville is facing affordable housing issues, that is something that is a barrier. Councilor Evans.
I don't have any questions.
Richard.
Thank you, Chair. Will this be your first appointment to a board here in Nashville?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Anything follow up?
No, I just noticed there's a lot of community service Shelby County, so that's what prompted the
Well, I
question.
relocated.
Yeah, I can tell you 3 to 5 years living here. Yeah.
Learned a lot from Shelby County to bring up here.
I'm sure I learned a few things, but every experience you should learn something.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about you before we, cast judgment on this appointment?
Only if you need more information to make judgment appropriately.
I just want to make sure the hot seat gets its name, make you sweat a little bit. All right, I am going to move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. I have Councilman O'Connell, so we're actually going to take that back out of order and go back to him. Freddie, we've got emergency filing only, and so this is a late filed ordinance authorizing Cannery Owner LLC, Cannery Owner Investment One LLC to construct, install, and maintain encroachments in the right-of-way at 521A 8th Avenue South in 1 Cannery Row. Why is this late?
It turns out there was an administrative error of sorts where I think originally, as described, it was assumed it was an aerial encroachment which would have required a single reading resolution, but it is actually a traditional encroachment requiring an ordinance. And so the applicant discovered this in conversation with the administration. So prior to it actually being fully filed with the council office, this was not realized, and they would still like to stay on the original timeline. Since the applicant is not at fault here, I'm eager to assist them in that.
What changes the timeline if it is timely filed?
I think they are trying to get, you may be aware of the Cannery Complex where they are working on resuscitating that and hoping, I think, to bring part of it back as a venue space. So I think they want to stay on that calendar, so I want to make sure they can.
And a 2-week difference would be detrimental to the economic development of that area.
I think
and
anybody in
into
this room
buildings.
probably understands the difficulty they're having with permits and other things allowing the development process to continue.
Well, I look forward forward to making sure that that is not an inappropriate sign that we need to clutch our pearls on. I have no issue with the emergency rule filing. Anybody else?
I do not believe there are any signs like we have seen before in this body.
Well, that could go a lot of different ways, Councilman. We will be seeing you on second reading on that one then. All those we're all okay with it?
Yeah, we're moving from a resolution to an ordinance, is that
Correct.
correct?
The ordinance will be late filed. We will not need the ordinance that was, or the
The
resolution.
resolution will be pulled.
Right, okay, super, thank you.
All right, you're good to go, Councilman.
Thank you.
All right, taking us back to the hot seat, we've got Planning Commission appointments of Matthew Smith, term expiring March 31st, 2027. Planning Commission appointment of Mr. Aaron Thompson for term expiring on March 31st, 2027. So if y'all want to double up.
Madam Chair, Mr. Thompson is unavailable to attend tonight. Would respectfully request a referral to the next session.
And actually, I need to triple check. Do we have the letters of their appointments before us?
You should, through the timely file.
Because we should have checked that when I spoke to you earlier. Do you know when the date of their appointment was?
I don't recall.
It was May 2nd. Okay, it was May 2nd, so that gives us plenty of time. All right, so, Planning Commission appointment of Mr. Aaron Thompson for a term expiring on March 31st, 2027, for in one meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? All right. All right, Mr. Smith. So your term would be also March 31st, 2027. Davidson County resident?
I am.
Registered voter?
I am.
Serve on any other boards and commissions for Metro?
No.
Okay. Why do you want to be on the Planning Commission?
I consider it a privilege to serve in Nashville, and I have about 12, 15 years of experience in construction and development, and would love to help Nashville achieve its vision of its built environment.
Can you speak a little more to your background in construction and development and how that experience will serve you on the Planning Commission?
Sure. I worked for several years for Turner Construction in Dallas, Texas. Moved back here and spent the last 10 years with Howard & Smith Contractors, doing mostly small to medium scale residential projects in Nashville and surrounding counties. And I think my experience, including coming before the Planning Commission several times, would help try to merge our developers' visions and obviously Nashville's vision for how they want the city to progress. I'd love to.
You just answered my next question, which I was going to ask you if you've been before the Planning Commission before in your role, but since now I know that you have, can you talk about that experience some and did that impact your desire to serve in that capacity?
I've generally had positive experiences in front of the Planning Commission, and I would love to help other people. I know on a lot of the Planning Commission agendas, 30, 40, 50% of those items are pretty small developments, and I think my experience is applicable there and can hopefully help the city and those developers.
Councilman Willie, you wanted to add something?
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to speak about my knowledge of Matt and the company he works for now. Matt lives in my district, and Howard & Smith has developed homes in my district. He's told you what his credentials are, and I found them to be incredibly reasonable, and the way they operate, they're good development organization, sometimes to their detriment, but they take input from me, they take input from the community. If I happen to disagree with what they're doing, they're perfectly, they work with me on these issues and they back away when it's time to back away. And they accept good feedback from the community and their development. So I've had exceptionally good experiences with the company that he works with now. since they've been building homes in my district. So I just wanted to put a plug, because I really think Matt would be an asset for a smart development component to the planning commission. Thank you.
Rosenberg?
No.
You have down as one of your professional organizations is the Home Builders Association of Middle Tennessee.
We're members. I'm not tremendously active at this point, but we are members.
Or any of your members or any of your company in leadership positions of Home
Not
Builders?
currently.
Have they in the past?
I believe our CEO was president a few decades ago, maybe.
Okay, but you are active dues-paying members of your.
Yes, yes.
So my concern here is that the Home Builders Association actively lobbies against metro initiatives at the state legislature, or on the flip side, we bring legislation that models after best practices in other counties, mirrors other counties, and the home builders come to the council and say, pull your bill or we'll kill it on the floor. I have a lot of concerns that there could be a conflict of interest if you were on the planning commission, and y'all are a member of the home builders, and you're the COO of this construction organization, and at the end of the day, who does your loyalty come down to?
My loyalty would be to Nashville. I think the planning commission takes its cues from the planning staff. Like I said, we have not been involved in that. We occasionally go to the lunch meetings to try to learn something. And I mean, my loyalty would be Nashville and the planning commission.
How much would a letter from, or the lobbyists from the home builders coming before the planning commission saying, this is not a good policy, how much is that gonna weigh on your decision?
No more so than a neighbor letter. I mean, it's input from professionals that I would surely read, but that holds no sway over me.
Okay. If any of your, if you were working at a construction, a building development company now in the future, if any of those fellow C-suite officers become leadership in the home builders, and home builders take a position and send that letter, or send a lobbyist to the planning commission, would you recuse yourself if one of your colleagues were
Absolutely.
leadership?
Yes.
Okay. Erin?
I just wanted to go back to Councilmember Rutherford's question when you were talking about the projects that you would potentially have in front of the planning commission. Are the projects you're working on, do they tend to be on the smaller scale, or,
They tend to be on the smaller scale.
Okay.
It's normally a handful to maybe a couple of dozen.
Oh, okay.
It generally for small rezones is generally what
Okay.
we've done.
And then do you do anything with short-term rentals in your current?
We have not, no.
Okay. And then my last question, does your firm do anything related to going to other counties looking for investment opportunities to convert newly rezoned projects into rental projects? So going from for sale projects to rentals?
We have not, no.
Okay.
I think since I've been there for 10 years, we've exclusively sold.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Tanika?
Yeah, so, can you speak on this part, you're a buyer's agent for new property acquisition?
That I'm a real estate agent, and I normally handle the contracts or negotiation with property that we buy to build on.
Also, can you speak or provide some examples of just neighborhood involvement? Like, I don't see that captured here.
I'm on the MBA alumni board.
No, like your specific neighborhood, whether it's an HOA, if you've done cleanups.
I'm the treasurer of our HOA.
Okay.
And but that's probably close to it. We're active at our public library.
I'm asking because I'm wanting to see that balance of, the planning commission is is one of the most, important commissions as it relates to just community quality of life, sustainability for neighborhoods, aesthetics, character, just culture, just everything. The planning commission, really drives that. There's a sentiment in the city as it relates to development, depending on the quadrant where you live here in Davidson County, about neighborhoods versus developers. So I know some of my colleagues, they were asking those questions related to your decision making, and you did answer it really well. Chair, just for me, I'm gonna be a no on this, just because, just the optics of it, and it's nothing against you, Mr. Smith, it's just the optics of it. This commission is really just too important. I understand that you can recuse yourself from various votes, but I know how that recusal process works behind the scenes. So for that, Chair, I'll be a no on this appointment.
And I've actually got some follow-up from what you brought up. I did hone in on Home Builders Association. I'm gonna ask you to make that same commitment if you are appointed, that you would recuse, if anyone you are working with is in leadership at the Realtors, you would recuse yourself there also. And then Music City Baseball, Nashville Stars,
Yes, ma'am.
what organization is that?
That's an organization that is dedicated to trying to bring a Major League Baseball team to Nashville.
And I think probably that's something that has a high likelihood of being discussed at the Planning Commission, would it not?
That's if it gets that far, that's.
What, in your experience as Chief Operating Officer and your time at your current construction company, and then when you were in Dallas with, or it was based out of Dallas, maybe you were here, Turner Construction, how often did y'all engage with and have an issue and I guess subcontract and or have union contracts and work with union operators?
Turner in Dallas, the plumbing, I believe, electrical was all union. Here, we've not worked with a lot of union subcontractors. Our subcontractors are generally very small and local. Being residential, we often don't work with some of the big guys that are building the big concrete towers and whatnot.
So it doesn't prohibit you from
No, ma'am, it does not.
working with union members and making sure that those standards and living wages and things that unions bring are there. I know that we have one voice, no vote. I know that the other planning commissioner is being deferred one meeting. I would like to maybe entertain or discuss with the committee if we would like to defer this appointment too, so we can have a discussion with both planning commissioner appointees at the same time at the next meeting.
Okay.
We've done that
Something
in,
different,
we've
Chair.
done that
It
in the
doesn't-
past,
yeah.
where we've, if we're having a conversation with you, it's helpful to have the conversation with the other one, and I think vice versa.
Sure.
And so, I'm gonna move to defer this one meeting.
What would the date be on that? Just,
It's June sixth.
I will be out of the country,
When will you be back in the country?
June, I believe 12th, or maybe 10th.
June 20 would be the next.
Okay, so, let's defer you 2 meetings. Councilman Pulley, do you have
Can I
something?
speak to the deferral?
You may speak to the deferral as a non-committee member.
As a non-committee member, I just want to add a little input. My question is, what's the relevance of putting him with the other planning commission person? It seems like you've questioned a lot of things here. If there's something that's at issue with what he said, then maybe that could be a reason, but I'm not sure why we would do this, just to run it with the other planning commissioner. Especially given the fact that you heard that he's not going to be here.
Well, that's why I said that we would defer 2 meetings, and I'm gonna go back and reconsider our other motion, is because quite often when we have boards like the Planning Commission, the BZA, the Arts Commission, several commissions over the last 8 years that we have multiple appointments. We've requested from the administration that they sync them up so we can have a more holistic conversation and view. And I think that Council Lady Vercher brought up an issue of, are we balancing neighborhoods, interests and appointees and perception here? And I think it would be best that we discuss it all at the same time.
But we discussed it here, so.
That issue came up during the discussion. And so, we have a motion to defer to the June 20th meeting on the table. All those in, Councilman Rutherford?
Question, what timeline are we on to make the appointment? Is there any issue related to timeline?
So these
with
were May
a few
3rd
meeting deferral?
May 3rd letters.
Yes.
May 2nd,
May 2nd. Where does that get us?
It's 60, I think it's 60 days.
60
Fine
days.
till July.
We're fine till
But-
July.
So if we defer 2 meetings and the other person has 1 meeting.
I'm gonna go
then-
back and ask to reconsider to 2 meetings for the other one.
Got it.
So, the motion on the table is to defer to June 20th, which would be a 2-meeting deferral. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wait, I'm sorry, did you have discussion on that?
Do we know if that's gonna work for the other,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Do you think that would or would not work for the other gentleman?
I don't know. Typically, he's in town mostly. He works for the Urban League and doesn't travel a lot. Ron was not available tonight. I'll just have to check in terms of being available on the 20th.
Can you check with him before we get on the floor?
I'll give it a try, Madam Chair.
Motion's on the table, seconded. All those in favor? Okay, any against? Any abstentions? All right, we'll see you on the 20th.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask to reconsider, no, you're good, sorry. I'm gonna ask to reconsider the appointment of Mr. Aaron Thompson for a term expiring on March 31st, 2027. We had deferred that 1 meeting since he was not here. But with the conversations we just had, I would like to reconsider that action and move it, or withdraw that action and move it to the June 26th as well. So that's the motion that I would.
20th.
20th. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting, typical. So with that, I'm making the motion to remove our recommendation of a 1-meeting deferral. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, and so then the motion is going to be to defer Mr. Thompson to the June 20th meeting. A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, so that takes us to the Board of Zoning Appeals appointment of Mr. Robert Ranson for a term expiring on February 26, 2028.
Let me switch out these seats, they're a little, that one's a little too hot.
Well played. Well played, Mr. Ransom. Alrighty. Do you live in Davidson County? I'll start off easy. Do you live in Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a registered voter?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other boards or commissions? Okay. Why do you feel that you want to serve and are qualified on the Board of Zoning Appeals?
I have been coming to Nashville since the early 90s. I call it kind of my second home. I've run a construction company for over a decade, and I'm super passionate about architecture and just development in general. My dad's a real estate developer, kind of the cookie cutter, mold you out in the middle of nowhere and kind of build the same 300 homes, and I always kind of disliked that. So I've always been interested in the inverse of that, and to what capacity I can serve on the board. I'm excited to, and I'm excited to be a part of Nashville, even in a small way. And then on a side note related to kind of affordable housing, I think zoning is one of those ways in which, with the stroke of a pen, you can make housing a lot more affordable, a lot quicker than you can with building, low-income housing units and other things like that. So that's another reason why I want to be involved.
All right, let's start with Councilman Rutherford. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Rosenberg?
Do you have any background with short-term rentals?
I used to own a investment property that wasn't short-term rental, but I sold that last year.
Thank you.
You were a professional baseball player
I was
for the Cardinals?
in another life, and the Cubs as well. Yes, ma'am. So.
We know somebody that is part of the Music City Stars.
Still.
See, maybe that was a smart move, changing chairs.
Still says in session, so.
Tanika. Tanika, do you have anything?
She can't quit laughing.
Would you want us to come back to you?
That's how you say it. I think I was in a daze or something, I don't know.
That's right. Councilman Parker, you are the only other council member left in the room. Do you have anything that you'd like to bring up? Would you like to come up in your own hot seat?
Sure, no.
No, I was joking.
Councilmember Rosenberg, I'm always curious because the BZA deals with so many important cases, and Councilmember Rosenberg, I guess, touched on it, but I had looked at your LinkedIn, and it said that you had like a background in short and long-term rental multifamily property. Is that
That's correct.
like beyond the one that you owned? Like you develop short-term rental properties and market them as such?
Yeah, I appreciate the clarification. So I was also, I'm not anymore, but I was a partner in an investment group called MRKT Capital, where we bought and mainly held Class B multifamily, kind of affordable housing units. So I'm still a general partner in that, but not active in it. I owned a handful of, I guess you'd call them short-term rentals, but I do not own them anymore. Probably should update that small snippet on LinkedIn. But I am still a general partner that owns I'd probably say 2,000 units. I'm one of 4 partners, mainly in the Chesapeake Bay area, a little bit in Hampton Roads, outside of Chesapeake Bay, and then in Bessemer and Meridian, Mississippi, but not in the state of Tennessee. My background is a little unique because I do run a single-family development firm, but we do custom homes and the development side of things. I've also bought and sold single-family units, short-term rentals, apartment buildings, so I feel like a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. I'm not necessarily a very good expert in all the things, but I feel like I've touched all of those from both sides, and it gives me a pretty good, just a pretty good perspective. And then before moving to Nashville, my wife's a doctor at Vanderbilt, which is one of the reasons that kind of brought us down here. I still run a construction company that does most of its work in DC, Maryland, Virginia. And just recently, my wife signed a contract at Vanderbilt, which was very exciting for me because personally, I could finally kind of stick a stake in the ground. I actually took the Tennessee contractor's exam this morning and passed.
And then you came here?
So it was very important that I passed this morning. So I feel like I can put more of a stake in the ground here. But I spent a decade in DC and Maryland, Virginia. I don't know if anybody here has ever done any work related to development or anything in that area, but just getting a house plan through a by right development or a by right build takes months, many months. In fact, even DC has a kind of a fee, they call it an expedited fee, which is basically an extortion. You pay them an exceptional amount of money.
Can we do that, Will? Is that?
It's actually a great idea. So anyway, I can go on and on and on. Hence my excitement to serve.
So I love Mid-Atlantic. I lived in Baltimore for a few years. Is your sense, you've worked in all these markets, your sense of like, we do hear a lot of feedback from folks that, stuff's taken forever, like, it's Nashville's so hard to work with. But then I also hear from other folks who are like, this is just, what is your perspective on Nashville versus other markets you've worked in terms of like getting a by right building permit, like, done?
Yeah, I think it's all perspective. I remember I helped a few friends out as kind of a friendly consulting gig at the time, and I think the plans took 2 or 3 weeks to get approved, and people were complaining that you just could walk in and just get them. I'm like, are you kidding me? It takes me 6 months and multiple tens of thousands of dollars in DC to get stuff approved. And I do stuff in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and even within those states, there's specific cities and municipalities that have their own kind of way of doing things, building permits, processes, and what have you. I feel like here it's all been very efficient. I mean, it's a little different down here, as in, Davidson County, you don't have to have a structural set of plans, so it's a little bit of the Wild West on the job site. So I think it leaves a little bit more of a burden on the inspectors to make sure stuff's done right. And I feel like because of its growth and a number of other factors, Davidson County is hurting on the number of inspectors for all trades, not just building in general. So things go through, I think, from my perspective, fast. But I've got, a list of opinions on things that could probably be done differently in the other way. But I've never heard anybody complain that it takes a long time, at least from my little bit of work that I've done here, other than the fact that they're just used to walking through and getting it done, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. So it's the balance, right? You want a balance of, you don't want to be too burdensome and weigh builders down, but at the same time, there needs to be some controls and mechanisms put on it, so.
And I've taken up a lot of time of the committee, but if I could have one more, just because it's
Yes.
the kind of a hot topic of the day. There was some recent litigation around sidewalk requirements, which
I saw that.
Nashville had an ordinance for. A lot of those cases would come to the BZA. I wonder your perspective on what you know about that case and sort of how you would handle questions like, or your perspective on questions like that. And then also, again, because you have experience in other markets, I'm just curious, like, if you build a home in DC, do you have to build sidewalks there?
Well, most of DC has pretty robust, and Maryland, kind of curb and gutter system with sidewalks. If there is an area that has sidewalks, we usually will fix them because they're generally old or damaged. And some other areas will have a curb, but maybe not necessarily sidewalks, never really requested because it's back in a neighborhood. But they have a pretty robust kind of stormwater management system that kind of goes hand in hand in that. I've never had to do that because they have so many sidewalks. I understand from the perspective of what Nashville's trying to do. Because I'm sure somebody somewhere looked and said, wow, if we need to build all the sidewalks we need to build, we're going to get them done in 80 years. Or some insane amount of years on top of all the other things that need to be done. So I understand where that comes from. I think from my just personal opinion, the fee that builders have to pay compared to what it would cost a builder to put in is really disproportionate. And I do wish there was, and I'm speaking very naively about this because I don't really know the inner workings of it. I wish there was some way that they could take that money and then kind of go block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. I mean, thoroughfares, like at Sylvan Park, maybe on 46, 51st, a handful of other main corridors. Because even the sidewalks that they put in, you can come in the Nations, for example, and it just looks, and it's going to be like that kind of forever. And that's not necessarily, I think, ideal either. And some of the sidewalks are right up against the curb. They got light poles in the middle, right? So they're not even still quite there yet. So, I a long opinion on that, but that's kind of a little above my pay grade as to what the infrastructure needs and costs are for the city.
I guess what I'm prodding at is, like, do you have like a philosophical aversion to like requiring offsite improvements?
I have a philosophical aversion not to requiring them.
Yeah.
I think in DC and Maryland we have to pay these exorbitant prices, impact fees and what have you that I know are not really legal here in the state of Tennessee, but they help greatly with things like parks and roads and infrastructures and other things. And I agree there's a balance between burdening a builder and that cost. Cost a builder $20,000. By the time it gets to the homeowner, that $20,000 is now $60,000. So there is some importance to be had there at the same time. But you can't have this massive growth without some type of something, right? So I don't know what that is. But if the case comes before me, my philosophical opinion is, I think everybody should do their part, builders, city, and whoever else in between, to help add the infrastructure. Because I know sidewalks is a huge want. It's a huge want for me personally and my family. And I know, Nashville's a young city, and I know a lot of people want that. So, but that.
Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
You're
I
welcome.
think Angie Henderson will be happy to give you a lot more information about sidewalk history and processes. Ginger's saying, dear God, no.
But then you get stormwater, and then that's a whole nother thing.
We've all been in those rooms.
Yeah. So I don't even know what I'm commenting on in the sense that I could be getting an earful later.
I was thinking about Council Lady Berger's question about neighborhoods, and perhaps you touched on it while I was out of the room, but the work you're doing, an effort at McCabe Park.
Right,
Yes.
that's actually what I was going to speak to since it is my district, but thank you.
I'm sorry?
It is my district, and I was going to add that in as I make a motion, but thank you. Yes, I believe we are meeting next week. I've met with
Yes.
your partner in crime, Dan,
Yes.
about getting McCabe Park a friends group because we desperately need a friends group because we are exploding at the seams. And so I really appreciate that involvement and stepping up to do that. So with this, I did want to ask, because I did ask a union question before. It says successfully negotiated a professional baseball contract. Were you a member of the union when you were in the?
I ultimately became a member of the Minor League Baseball Association union at the time. I fought back against it a little bit when I was younger and
We should have just stopped at McCabe Park. We'll just rewind the tape.
The answer ultimately was yes. So.
And probably for the betterment of your career. And with that, I'll make a motion for approval. We've got a motion, we've got a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? You got one, okay. Any abstentions? All right.
Question or were you reading? Sorry.
It's nothing personal against you. I'm familiar with Market Capital. Yeah, very familiar with it. So.
It might be a different firm.
Y'all are welcome to discuss in the hallway, because I believe that takes us to the end of our agenda. And so please feel free to get a parking pass if Tanika will give you one, and we are adjourned.
No, in Virginia you have.